Hi everybody. So what I wanted to talk to you about today is anxiety. So this seems to be the most prevalent thing in the whole school community in general at the moment. So I feel that it's experienced at the minute with the children and young people, with staff, with parents, just the whole community. There seems to be this really increased and heightened level of anxiety. So something that I wanted to discuss and talk to you about today is how do we respond or support somebody who is in the middle of an anxiety attack or a panic attack? How do we support that person to become re-regulated and find their breath again? So first and foremost, the most common thing that is said to somebody who is experiencing a panic attack or anxiety attack is take a deep breath. Now, finding the time to breathe deeply from right down in your stomach is helpful and impactful, but not at the first and foremost point. So, taking a deep breath from your stomach is more helpful when we have started that regulation part. But in the first and foremost instant, taking a deep breath isn't the most helpful thing to do. And it's important that we have an understanding of why that is. So when we breathe in, what's happening is obviously, we all know this, it's basic science, biology, we learn it at school. When we breathe in, we take in oxygen. When we breathe out carbon dioxide. So when our body becomes dysregulated and our breathing is interrupted and our breathing becomes dysregulated, so we are over breathing as such, or we're breathing too fast or too rapid, what's happening is there is a disruption to that balance of oxygen and carbon dioxide because I'm getting too much oxygen that I don't need. And what can happen is that it causes a drop in the carbon dioxide in the body. So because we are breathing in oxygen and we expel carbon dioxide, we do still use a level of carbon dioxide in our bodies. We don't just expel all carbon dioxide and we don't use it. There is a balance between oxygen and carbon dioxide in our bodies. So carbon dioxide helps with the pH level of your blood and things like that. So when there is a drop in carbon dioxide, it can really reduce the blood flow to the brain. And this is why we can start to experience these feelings of I feel dizzy because my brain's not getting enough oxygen, my brain's getting too much oxygen, or because there's this drop in carbon dioxide which is reducing the blood flow to the brain. And because of that, our heart starts to beat faster and starts to beat harder to make sure that the blood is getting to our brain and that it's going around our body where it needs to go. And that's why we get all these symptoms of dizziness and lightheadedness and pins and needles and all these other things that we experience at a body-based level when we are experiencing an anxiety or a panic attack. So when somebody then comes along in the first instance and asks that person as the first port of call to take a deep breath, what you're doing is encouraging them to take in more oxygen that they don't need. So you're just adding to that kind of imbalance of oxygen and carbon dioxide in the body. So first and foremost, what's important to do is just try to encourage the person to take a slow breath out. So try to encourage them to breathe out and empty their lungs. Then try to encourage them to sit if they can sit in a chair or just sit where they can feel connected to something, whether that's sit on the floor, sit on a chair, stand and hold something, find something to have a connection to. Then we're looking to re-regulate. So that's when we're going to encourage that, okay, now let's take a breath in. We're not taking in a deep breath at this point, we're just taking in a breath. We're taking in a breath and we're going to pause for a few seconds and then we're going to exhale and we're going to take a breath out. Once that regulation starts to happen, that's when it can be quite helpful then to take a deeper breath and focus on taking that breath from down in the stomach. So in doing that, and you can check whether you're breathing from your stomach by placing one hand placing one hand on your stomach and one hand on your chest. The hand on your stomach should rise when you breathe in. So if you're just breathing from here, My hand here is moving, but my hand on my tummy isn't. See the difference? But to do this part in the middle of that heightened anxiety attack is not practical. It's not practical at all, because this bit requires a level of thinking capacity as well. Place your hand here, place your hand here, and acknowledge the fact that my hand on my tummy is rising, not just my hand on my chest, if that makes sense. So it's not that taking a deep breath isn't helpful at all. It's just there's a right time to take that breath, and there's a right time to find the moment for taking a deeper breath. And it's not about just taking one massive deep breath in and then releasing. It's about taking that time to pause, exhale, empty your lungs, find somewhere to sit where you have a sense of connection, even if that's sit and holding somebody's hand, or you're sitting and you've got a connection to somebody else. Find the time to be with that person and present. So find connection as in sitting or something to that effect. Then encourage them to take a regular breath in, pause for a few seconds, 2-3 seconds, and then a regular breath out. For the person to be able to re-regulate their own breathing is going to be incredibly difficult. A, because they're operating from the safety survival part of their brain, not from a thinking capacity. And B, because they've spent a period of time dysregulated breathing. So to find that re-regulated breathing can be quite difficult afterwards, because the body's still in this kind of sense of panic of too much oxygen and whatnot. So co-regulation at this point is going to be really, really helpful. So do it with that person. Empty your lung, find the time to sit and connect with something. You may even wish to hold their hand, like I've said. Find the time to take a regular breath in, pause for 2 seconds, find the time to take a regular breath out. Once that re-regulation is starting to happen, that's when we can bring in a little bit more of a cognitive capacity and a thinking around how we're regulating our breathing, and say, okay, let's take a slightly deeper breath now, and let's kind of breathe deeper from our tummies to help our bodies to feel calm and connected and re-regulated again. That's when you might say, put your hand on your chest, put your hand on your tummy, and acknowledge where you are breathing from. If you're breathing from deeper in your tummy, then your hand will rise. The hand on your tummy will rise when you're taking a breath in. So try to really be mindful of this, and try to really understand that just kind of going into that, and nobody ever says it from a malicious point of view. Nobody ever says it from a like, oh, just take a deep breath, you know. It's more so from a, that's just what people believe to be the most helpful and most impactful. Take a deep breath, take a deep breath. I've been guilty of it before now as well. So, you know, it's not a pointing of the fingers at all. It's just try to shift your understanding and your knowledge so that you're able to better support people if you are with that person who's experiencing an anxiety attack, or for yourself as well, because it's also really helpful to have an understanding of things for ourselves as well. As always, questions, give us a shout. Topics to be covered, give us a shout. Otherwise, I will catch up with you all on Monday for Mini Vlog Monday.